Talking about the 10 worst wholesaling markets right now in 2023. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this one out. But what we're going to do is give you ideas if you're in these markets on things you can do. And I promise you, I will teach you how to find the right markets so you can have the greatest success in wholesaling. But the reason I'm doing this video is if you live in these markets, you do have alternatives. It's called virtual wholesaling. So if you're in these markets and you recognize it right away, don't get upset. It just means most likely you were going to have to take up virtual wholesaling because these markets are brutal. So let me walk you through it. And honestly, every time I do these, a few more things change. So I'll update you, but like, this is not a scare video. It's a video to help you out if you're in these markets, to point you in the right direction to find success so you can find motivated sellers in any virtual market you want in the United States. But so many people go, oh my God, it's so saturated. It's so expensive. It's absolutely crazy. But let's go ahead and jump into it and we will review this. So I didn't do them in any particular order. So like, do not look into this. And actually what I'll do is start here. Now, I could sit here and focus on Florida all day. And what I want to concentrate is I don't want to talk about like, hey, back in the heyday, we used to buy them for 100 grand and now they're 500 grand. That's not the point. Everyone's prices are different. For the most part, they're up all across the country. And remember, price is relative. It is what it is, but as long as you can make money on it, it works just fine. So once again, let me reemphasize, we were talking about the worst wholesaling markets in the United States. And the key is to identify it. So let's go with the first one, Tampa, Florida. Now here's what I've done to help you guys out is I put up the average medium home price as of this live stream in it. Now, to be honest with you, Tampa doesn't have a bad price point. God knows it's gone up a heck of a lot over the last 4 years, but Tampa, I just don't know why. It has been one of the mecca centers for wholesaling from day one. Honestly, it was the original place back in early 2000 where everybody was founded for wholesaling. And that's why you seem to have a lot more activity. Tampa now is very similar to Miami. So when you say the word Tampa, it describes such a huge, vast area. Now, the cool thing is amazing population. It is near the water and it is in a very populous state of Florida, which is a very positive political environment. The problem is the inventory is so low in Tampa and the competition so fierce. Honestly, I used to even do this as a virtual market and a little thing. I used to live in Tampa. So I've done a lot of deals in Tampa and I know it. It's just a different world. And as these prices creep up, inventory stays low, it just makes it harder for the average wholesaler. And I think Tampa's eventually going to be like the Miami market, but everybody seems to be going there and it's actually a pretty cool place, but like, I don't like it for wholesaling. But if somebody wants to prove me wrong, because I've done a lot of deals there, a lot of things change, but it's crazy. The inventory never seems to fix there. Coming on the next one, since we're talking about Florida, and I promise you, these are the only 2 Florida ones I'll do because I could probably break down 20 different markets I'm not crazy about. I mean, Miami, I'm going to be honest with you, anything south from Broward, Dade, down to Monroe County, it is not a wholesale friendly environment. It's just the truth. It doesn't mean you can't do it. So just because I say these are the worst markets, it doesn't mean you can't do wholesaling. It's actually quite the opposite. But if you were to go to say like Miami and do it for virtual wholesaling, you would be really challenged. Number one, it is the mecca center for all of Southern Florida, meaning everybody from the Caribbean, everyone from Central America comes in there, South America, and it is just a huge hub where everybody goes. Number two, if you don't speak Spanish fluently, you're going to be in trouble here. How fluently? At least 50% of the business you're going to be doing is going to be in a foreign language. And no longer is it just Spanish. You have Creole, you have French, there's a Russian population there. It is like a melting pot. The second reason outside the price point of 600K and climbing rapidly is the amount of cash buyers in the Miami market is insane. And here's the problem. They're not your regular cash buyers. They are what we call your retail cash buyers. And it gets compounded worse because people come from cultures in like Jamaica, South America, all the Caribbean, where it's common to have 10, 15, 20 family members living in one house. So they will go buy the biggest house they can and pool their monies together and they have no problem paying cash for it. And for that reason, not only do you have to compete with the regular investors, now you got to compete with the retail cash buyers, and they all most predominantly go through real estate agents. And for this reason, it's a real pain in the butt. The third reason is Miami is the scam capital of the world. More scams go on in Miami than anywhere else. Real estate is no exception. And the crazy part is a lot of these $600,000 houses, I mean, they're just brick frame homes with not even central AC with window units. So this average price, 600 grand, is extremely misleading because it's factoring in a lot of the lower part income housing on there. And there's a lot in Miami. And for this reason alone, guys, it is just a tough market. Do not do it virtually. And if you live there, be active in your local market, but I would start considering other markets. Here's a hint. If you're in Florida, just go north. How far north? I would go like Palm Beach and north up there. So you get about a $200,000 reduction in average home prices and at least put you in the right center. And the really cool part is if you go up to Palm Beach, even St. Lucie County, all these other places where I'm at, you have 100,000 plus population. So it's easy to meet the basic parameters to get started in wholesaling. So don't forget that. I love Miami. I love to visit there. Honestly, I've spent a lot of my life in Miami, but it is not wholesale friendly. It is a hard community. Coming in the next one, I'm not even going to put a price on it because I don't even care what it is. Actually, the price point is actually pretty low in Chicago. I believe it's in the threes, maybe even low threes. But Chicago is, I'm not going to get into politics here. It is a very liberal place, and the policies are absolutely crazy. They have massive crime problems. I believe they have the zero bail rule in. Those crazy politicians moved their chase over to wholesaling, and they basically required you get a license in the state of Illinois Class 1 deal, which I find absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And number three, man, the winters are so brutal there. It's absolutely crazy. I just don't think Chicago is it. They don't want wholesalers there. They try to discourage you at all points. And to be honest with you, between the crime and the outflux of population, I think Chicago's going to have some real problems down the road here. But listen, I love people from Chicago. I'm just like, but what politicians are doing to your town is absolutely nuts. And it's bled over in the real estate. So the Chicago real estate market could get really interesting here in the next few years, but I would really avoid this unless you live in Chicago and it's your heart and soul. But keep in mind, you're going to have to navigate through licensing and all sorts of stuff. And for that reason, I don't like it. That's why I'm going to put a price there. Okay. This next one is an absolute no brainer. Okay. Washington, DC, 625 as of writing this is the average home price. And honestly, they're predominantly going to be townhomes. 625, I guarantee, is on the very, very low price range on like a townhome type of deal. Now, DC is very crowded. It is a political town. And honestly, it's hard to make the numbers work there. So I get it. If you grew up in Washington, D.C., that would be the only exception possibly. Don't ever pick this as a virtual market. It's just challenging, guys. It's very established. There's very little inventory and the demand is through the roof. You think that would be the perfect scenario for wholesaling, but the problem is it's hard to get. They're at such a high price point. People feel they don't want to make a mistake and they want to work with a real estate agent / broker. And that's the problem. As you get to these higher price points, it's much more challenging because people won't feel like they need to get hired help to make sure they get the right price. And at some point, they just don't want to reach out to wholesalers. So the next one, no brainer. Seattle is absolutely nuts. Beautiful place. When I visited last, it's been 4 or 5 years since I've been there. But once again, they have the same problem as a lot of some of these towns. The politicians and lobbyists have all gotten on one side and crime is rampant. The weather's actually not bad at there, but like $820,000 average home price, that's a tough number. And the problem is when houses get to that point, they feel like they need to hire professionals to make sure they get the most for their property. And they don't perceive us wholesalers, cash buyers as professionals because we don't have a real estate license. And for that reasons, one of the main reasons why it's going to make it so challenging. Beautiful place, but I believe they have I don't know what's going on with their population, but I know they have a major crime problem going on and they're going to have to fix this because at these price points, people, if you're going to get up to the $1 million price range, people are going to have high expectations of parks and public places to be. And from what I understand, they're not living up to it right now. So keep that one in mind. Next one's kind of a no-brainer too. New York City. So the last price point came in at $761,000. Now, New York City is a place that's been around forever and people go there to do business. Manhattan, the whole 9 yards. But there are a lot of outskirts parts in the New York area, like Rochester and stuff like that. that you can actually make the numbers work. I would just avoid New York City. It doesn't even make sense. And honestly, unless you're a broker, you're going to have a hard time cracking and getting anything in these because everything is chased down with a broker or a real estate agent. And for that reason, like I don't even mess, I wouldn't even mess with it. It's hard. And the way they do closings in that state, everything funnels through a lawyer. So everybody wants like Mr. or Mrs. Professional. And the reality, us as wholesalers, we're not viewed to that in the market because we don't get a license. The problem is I don't want a real estate license because that's not going to help me out in wholesaling at all. So we're letting like a no man's land type of here. So everything gets squeezed between lawyers and real estate agents and brokers. And the problem is when these average medium price homes get so high, it becomes naturally much harder for a wholesaler to penetrate these markets. Guys, it is the game. It is the game. When these price points get to a certain thing, they want to run it by every professional. When home prices are much lower and people have a problem, they just want to get rid of it. And that's where wholesalers come in. I'm not saying you can't do a deal at these price points, but you usually have to be associated with a broker or have the know-ins of these types of people. And the only way you can do that is through extensive networking, but you got to get some experience while doing that in wholesaling. So the next one, I don't know why I did double signs on it. Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's just a weird market. I don't know why, but we've tried to do deals there. We've watched other people try to do deals. It's just challenging. Anybody wants to share information on it with it? I'm not the only person that's come up with this, but they actually have a pretty reasonable median price home at $345,000. But I thought I would throw it out there just to kind of let you guys know where it's at. It's just the truth where it is. And remember, if you guys are in these types of markets, that's why the advent of virtual wholesaling has come a point. So you can choose a market where you can find plenty of motivated sellers and really make it work. Now, coming to the next one, which I was really surprised at these numbers. And by the way, I've done deals in Boston. I actually like Boston. I just hate the price points. It just drives me nuts. Now, the people of Boston are wonderful people, very passionate. And the other thing I love about Boston is there is a lot of multifamily. I mean, a lot of multifamily, a lot of old multifamily, which is where a lot of the problems arise from. But there's a lot of challenges with the price points in these markets. At 900 plus, it is challenging to get past the real estate agents and the brokers. And honestly, the lawyers at these price ranges. But I do love the multifamily aspect. So I wouldn't say don't do it if you're from Boston, but you're going to have to pick out some outlying areas to really make this market work. There's no other way to do it. So these are funny. The next one, Los Angeles. It goes without saying, I could almost wrap the entire state of California, but there are good parts like Inland Empire, Sacramento, some other places that we can go into further discussions on it. But I'm going to be honest with you. Los Angeles, I mean, you're approaching $1 million just for a regular home. And guys, when I say average median price, remember, it takes the really expensive ones and then takes the really cheap ones and we wind up in the middle. So that middle number is going to get you probably a below average house, especially knowing LA with the 20, 30, 50, and $100 million mansions. It would not surprise me. And that leads us to our most messed up market of all time. Everybody knows this by heart. Everyone says, I thought it'd be New York City or LA. No, it's simply San Francisco. And coming in as of this, I watch these numbers every year because I go through this at least once a year. And we're at 1.3. The last I checked, it was 1.1. So even though they've had more inventory over there and some of the supply is letting up, the reality is 1.3, they're all going through a broker or a real estate agent and an attorney. It's just, guys, at that number, people don't play around. And remember, people who own those properties get much more sophisticated. And the more sophisticated they feel like they are, it doesn't mean they're sophisticated. They feel like, I'm going to have to find people that are very professional with college degrees to help me sort this problem out. Not the truth, but San Fran's been around forever. Beautiful cities, same problem as a lot of the other cities. Crime running rampant, businesses exiting en masse, retail stores shutting down, crime at an all-time high, losing their parks, everything else. Basically made drug use recreational around there. This city's got problems. It's got a lot of history though, so maybe somebody go in there and do the right thing. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger will go back or something like that. But they just have a lot of issues going on over there. But for that reason, I wouldn't even mess with it, even look at it. I do have two friends that do the San Francisco market exclusively, but they've been doing it a long time. And they're happy doing 1 to 2 deals a year, but they make $500,000 on each deal. Remember, you can wholesale in absolutely any market. There is no market you cannot wholesale in, within the United States at least. But we want to increase the probability and make it a win-win for you. And for that reason, if you're in any of these 10 markets that I just mentioned, I want you to understand this. There's two main things that you have to look at. Number one, if you're going to go in a wholesaling market, look at the average median price. My recommend, you got to be 450 or less. Like anything past 450, you going to have massive obstacles because people want to hire professionals, realtors, brokers, and attorneys. I prefer being under 400, but if I had to set a hard cap limit, 450. If your market's 450, go to another one. So a lot of Florida's already been priced out of it. Like I'm already at that level now. Now I've been established in the market. I'm not going to stop doing it, but I keep picking up virtual markets so I can find new markets that I can penetrate to find plenty of motivated sellers. Because I know once Florida gets to a certain price number, the amount of money I'm going to have to spend to get a deal and my ability to get past the brokers and agents is going to become more and more challenging. So you can always make a shift. Number two, look at the population. In a perfect world, 100K population or more is what you need. If you're in too small of a market, it means you won't have enough cash buyer, you won't have enough demand, and you will struggle to sell your contracts via assignment to a cash buyer because there's not enough people there. People say, hey, Rick, what's the minimum you want for a population? Honestly, I prefer 100. But 50 has got to be the cutoff. Anything below 50, unless you have like a 90-day inspection clause, it's going to be hard to find a buyer in 2 to 3 weeks for it. That's just the truth of it. Every now and then, if you get it for the right price, you can always incite somebody with a great price. But those are the two minimum things that you want to consider when looking in the market. The third thing is local market knowledge. Do you have the knowledge for that market? The one thing that freezes people in virtual wholesaling is it takes time to understand the pricing and the culture of that market. So like an instance in Florida, we don't have basements. So when I go to a market that has basements, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I have to get other people to help me out to ask the sellers the qualifying questions about the basement stuff because I'm clueless about it. Roofs are very different in Florida. There's a lot of things very different. Pools are different here. But keep in mind, when I go to a virtual market, I plan on 3 months to kind of figure things out, to get deals rolling, and get contracts in, and then be able to sell them. Now, here's the really cool part. Once you figure out that virtual market, then you don't have to figure it out again. But at some point, like anything else, the day you had to learn to ride a bike, the day you had to learn how to walk, the day you had to learn how to drive a car, it took a little bit of time to do it. Why would wholesaling be any different? And as soon as you understand that, like, okay, I can do this virtual wholesaling. I'd rather you do virtual wholesaling than try it in San Francisco because that's all you know. And then no one will give you the time of day because everybody wants $2 million for their property and they don't want to give you an inspection period. You're just in the wrong market. So here's the best advice I can give you. If you live in one of these markets I've mentioned, or you're in a very, very expensive market, there's plenty more on here, trust me. 10's just scraping the iceberg. I always want you to stay active in your local market. How? The good old things, the government list, bandit signs, digital bandit signs, driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars, and polling all your court leads. Now, that being said, you'll only need a deal or two in that local market because you could earn a 6-figure profit pretty easily as long as you know your local market. So stay active, go to your local RIAs, everything else, network with everyone, and then you go find your virtual wholesale market. You pick the market that you believe you're going to have the best chance and look at the data. Population, average median price. Look at the political climate. Do people pay income tax there? Is the population growing or is it shrinking? How's the weather? And honestly, just look at that. By the way, when you guys are selling your rental properties, when they have renters in there, try to find states or markets where the environment for landlords is pro-landlord. Why? Because it's much easier to sell them. A rental property in the state of California and the state of New York and the state of Illinois is completely different from, say, like Florida, Alabama, North and South Carolina. And people will pay more in the more favorable markets for the landlord as opposed to a non-landlord friendly state. So that's the beauty of virtual wholesaling. You can go anywhere you want. And for those of you, if you like, say you grew up in Virginia or you grew up in Tennessee and you know it, you know the streets, you just got to get a little bit familiar with prices. You actually have even a greater advantage because you might be able to find some local people that can help you out. If you ever have to take pictures, if somebody has to drive to you, drive out and get a signature, all sorts of stuff, or walk a cash buyer through. Every now and then we have to do that in virtual wholesaling, but I'm telling you guys, it works really well. So if you're one of these markets, don't panic. And honestly, in a lot of these markets, there's just subtle little shifts. I like to look for the outbound aspiring markets. So if you look in Tampa, if you look in areas around it like Lakeland and Plant City and some other places. My geography is terrible right now. But that's how I always find when a market gets smoking hot and it's just getting ridiculous, start to branch out and look all around and look at the next up and coming community. And sometimes you can get out above the crazy appreciation of real estate and start thinking. Or you can still do that local market and then make that your virtual market and attack that. Or if you're in like the state of California or New York and you don't want to mess with any of those markets, go pick the best virtual wholesaling market. And you know what the best one is? It's the one that shows you the data that's going to give you the best chance of success. Don't do it by feel. Don't say, my dad told me to go to North Florida because it's really cool. No. Your dad just wants a vacation home and just learn how to identify it. So if you know that going into it, then you can protect yourself from it. But don't ever feel like you're stuck with one of these markets. It's absolutely crazy. You don't have to do that. So guys, those are the 10 worst. You can decipher it however you want on that. So it is what it is. So let me see here. Let me get in the comments here. So if you guys want to do a one-on-one, I believe I put the link on there, did I? Oh, yeah, my link's under Rick Ginn. Just click on that. I have some time here if you guys want to jump on a one-on-one. Also, keep in mind, if you are new to this channel, make sure, if you're new to wholesaling in general, I want you to go over to freewholesaling.com. And me and my son have created a course, 100% free, not only to teach you how to do your first wholesale deal, but how to make your first 100 grand. And the really cool thing is there's no credit card. You just go in there. We teach you how to do it for free and it works. We have thousands after thousands, I believe probably around 10,000 testimonials. I've never asked anyone to post it. People do it naturally and organically because the dang program helps them out that much. So enough said with that. But the thing is, you have to do the work for it. I don't do the work for you. So make sure you check out that course. And guys, keep in mind, it's this Thursday, Friday, October 19th, 20th. I have a live event coming up here in Stuart, Florida. You do have to be a Flip with Rick Plus member. If you don't know how to do that, go over to Flip with Rick Plus and you just get additional access to me. And we do 2 live events a year, one in Florida, one we travel across the United States. And we have a lot of fun because we get to meet everybody in person and we spend 2 whole days. And here's the funny part. We only talk about wholesaling and we focus on how to get you up and running in your business. And then we try to pair you with like the real shakers and movers in this business. I got people doing phenomenal amount of business in wholesaling that have less than a year's experience that started exactly where a lot of people are watching this video. So check it out there if you want to do that. And then as usual, if you like this show, make sure you smash that like button. And listen, one of the best ways you can repay me for all this great free information is just make sure you subscribe to my channel. You guys check out my son's channel, Zach Ginn, and also check us out on Flip with Rick YouTube channel, where I think we're approaching 100,000 on that, which is really cool. And that's a testament to you guys. So without further ado, let's jump into some comments. And then if we have some live stream, if you guys want to do a one-on-ones, I'll take as many as can jump in on there. So Azer's asking me about the Portland market. I mean, it's tough. It's not my favorite. What I would do is pull up all the stats and make a decision with it because you're right on the cusp of that 450. I prefer it to be 400 or less. Here's the problem is I'm not scared of the prices, guys. It's how homeowners deal with you as a wholesaler or cash buyer. They treat like you don't have a license. And that's the biggest challenge you have. The prices don't scare me at all. Like honestly, it'd be easier, like off of a $500,000 house, I could probably make 50 to 100K a lot easier than I could off of a $50,000 house, just from a mathematical equation. But Portland's a beautiful place, but I think the price points have climbed to a point where I think it's just going to be challenging. Just my opinion. So really good questions here, by the way, today. So does the medium price also apply to probate properties as well? You have the exact same problem with probate properties. If you have $1 million probate property, odds are they're not going to respond to your mailer. It's the truth. I hate it. And the reality is, full disclosure, I've never done over a $700,000 property in a probate. Why? Because they all go to the stinking realtors and the brokers because they are deemed the professionals and they are the trusted brand. And you and me are never going to beat that. You can wear the nicest polo shirt. You could wear an entire monkey suit, an entire business suit. It's not going to change that persona. And it is what it is. We have to just deal with what we have. So JP says, Rick, I'm starting wholesaling this week. Do you suggest I attend the event this weekend or I'm too much of a newbie? So there's no such thing as a newbie. I don't care if people have never done a deal or you've done 100. I promise you, you can benefit from me and my son's trainings, but it's completely up to you. I will tell you, I am not a pep rally guy. Let's come get together and I just pump you full of I can do motivation all day long, but the problem is motivation doesn't last. And you guys know that. So when you go to most real estate events, I mean, I love the inspiring stories, but at some point you actually have to take action and cut your teeth and do the work required. And then once the stories come, then all the sales come behind it. And you got to take my course. And by the time you hear it 8 to 10 speakers, you're like, didn't I come here to learn wholesaling? I'm not going to do that. JP, if you want, come out to the event, but you got to be part of Flip with Rick Plus. And the really cool part is I work with you through the entire year. My program's by far the most generous program out there because I make it affordable for everybody. And then the thing is, not only do you get my DMs, you get 4 contacts with us a week where you get lives and all your questions get answered. You get 2 live events a year. Why? Because we want to give you follow-up. We want to give you motivation and we want to teach you how to teach yourself how to be accountable. Most live events you have to pay extra for. Ours are all included. So we don't sell separate because the idea is when you go and connect with people, you're going to make a lot of really cool friends. And then the idea is you guys can work together holding each other accountable. Although I prefer you hold yourself accountable. And that way, if you want to take off with somebody at the same time, it's completely up to you. But the Flip with Rick program is designed as a long-term program. I do not do 1 month in and out because you're not going to learn the business in 1 month. You'll be better, but you won't learn everything you need to know. So if you want to do a program like that and you want to come and you want to go to 2 live events a year and then participate in the weekly Zooms and stuff like that, Flip with Rick by far is going to be your best bang. I would love to have everybody out there because I haven't done a live event in so long. Like I like getting super excited to do it. So I think it's going to be really cool. But once again, JP, it's completely up to you. I would love to help you out in either way. Even if you miss this one, make sure you set up for the next one. But I want to work with you every month to show you how the business really works. Because when the speeches and the pep rallies are over, you got to have somebody there to get you through it. I don't have a student running you through this. Right now, me and Zach doing it personally. And that's just how we do it. So if you get value from it, do it. Great. Either way. But either way, do me a favor. Make sure you get started in wholesaling. I would love to help you out. So, okay. Here's a good one. Indianapolis is a wonderful market. Sorry, I'd be a little bit biased. I am in one of these virtual markets, so I know it works really well. So if Rick's in it, heed the warning. It's really good. It's a great price. So just look at the average price and the population and stay out of the hood. You'll be fine. So, oh, I get that. Okay, I'm reading comments out loud. Emerald, I appreciate the comment. So remember, we're looking like my long-term goal is to develop as many business partners as I can out of this. And a true partnership works like both sides make money at the same time. The last thing I want to do is sit here and take coaching fees from you guys all day. It's annoying. Most people don't get the benefit from it. And most people oversell like what they can deliver and what they actually promise. And that's the huge divide on it. So you got to find a program that fits best for you. Most of you guys just buy into it because you hear a sales pitch. You think it's going to fix all your problems. And the reality is most of your problems start the day you sign up for these ridiculous programs because they can't deliver a quarter of what they say they're going to do. So find a program that motivates you. More importantly, a program you believe in and something that is sustainable for the long run. Don't do these kind of quick pump and dump markets, because if people go to like a weekend seminar on wholesaling or wholesaling boot camps, guys, wake up. Oh, by the way, here's the last one. Promise me, if you truly love wholesaling, don't ever get on a bus to go to a tour to Home Depot or Lowe's. That is the farthest thing from wholesaling you will ever learn. And honestly, if I did that, I might as well be a realtor. So please, guys, if you're getting on a tour bus to go look at properties, that is not wholesaling. And if you're going to Home Depot to figure out what the right blinds and the right toilets to put in your rehabs, that is so far from wholesaling. I could never teach stuff like that. Honestly, I sell to people like that. So I find it interesting that they do it. But I watched somebody in the state of Florida, like a wholesaling boot camp or whatever they called it. And one of their first order of their businesses, they were going to Home Depot and then looking through houses. Ready for this? They were going to tie up 5 hours on the bus. You know what that means? That's your 5-hour fluff time. That means I don't know what to do. I'm just going to throw it. You're not going to learn anything on a. You go to Home Depot and yourself. I've never do stuff like that. It's absolutely insane. So, okay. I just think it's funny when people say that. So, so by the way, guys, I love all the comments on like all the cities. I'm not going to go like through every one of them. You just got to look at the basics, the population, the average median price, and is it I love states that are landlord friendly. And there's a lot of states that aren't landlord friendly, and it makes those deals much harder to sell. But listen, the geographics, the demographics of the United States is changing rapidly. So you're going to have to change with it. And with the advent of virtual wholesaling, no longer do you feel stuck in a market. Like I'm in Florida. Like at some point, I'll always wholesale here, but like when we get to $1 million homes, I'll have to reconsider what my plan of attack for wholesaling in the state of Florida is, because the problem is when the margins get slimmer and slimmer and you start dealing with $1 million, like I don't want to make tiny little returns. The last thing I want to do is, because the problem is when you're doing $1 million house, you can't get away with $100 deposit. We haven't talked about that either. So if you're like Portland or Seattle and places like that, it's challenging. So somebody put up here, I'm telling you guys, you get on a tour bus. You have it like one of the places I started was in Coral Springs. And here's the funny thing is when I started, I thought it was super expensive. So yes, Coral Springs has changed drastically and it's well over the $400,000 price mark, probably closer to $5. Coral Springs is a wonderful place to live, though. I loved it. I spent a lot of time there. Actually, I owned a home there for a while when Zach was about 2 years old. And that was it, man. So most of these markets are really, really good, guys. You got to look at the basic numbers. And, the weird one is like Ohio. And first of all, Ohio is a wholesaling mecca. People have been wholesaling there since the early 2000s too. It was that in Tampa. Ohio is just very old school, like blue collar worker, a lot of affordable housing, but a lot of old housing. Now, there's been a lot of outflow from Ohio because it's not the greatest place to be in the winter, but it's very affordable living. So I'll always recommend Ohio. Sorry. It's like people are like, oh, people are moving out. People don't want to live there anymore. I'm just telling you, people are going to I think people will actually start to flock there because compared to Florida, it's a lot cheaper. Now, I would never survive a winter there. I'm very, I don't know what to do without the sun. It's just how I am. So I'm not a cold weather person. Maybe if I'm skiing, but I'm not that good of a skier. So it's like, it only goes so far. So keep it up, man. We'll figure it out. So appreciate it, Aiko. Emerald says, make sure you stay off the tour. You guys understand, if you're doing wholesaling and you're getting on a tour bus, you're wasting your time. There's nothing a tour bus can teach you at Home Depot. And I promise you, if you're doing that, look at the person in charge. I almost guarantee they got a realtor's license. The same guy or gal that's also going to have a mortgage broker's license. They'll probably have a Series 7 license. I call them serial license holders. They got to have a license and everything because that's what they want to do. So